Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to Naysay POV. This is my point of view. This is the station. This is the channel where pop culture meets history. So, ladies and gentlemen, this morning's topic came to me last night. I was watching some old videos, interviews of none other than one of my faves, Mr. James Baldwin. He's my fave for a number of reasons. So this morning's topic, ladies and gentlemen, is the King James Version. Get into it, okay? This morning's topic, ladies and gentlemen, is the King James Version. Now, I know a lot of us like to look at the King James Version and say, oh, it's that book we got in church that we looked into when we were in Sunday school and in prayer meeting and all of these different things. No, this is the King James Version. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today's topic is the King James Version. We're going to be discussing none other than one of my faves, Mr. James Baldwin. Okay. Now, James Baldwin was unapologetically black. He spoke truth to power. He didn't back down, and dare I say, he said it in such a way that it would make white people shiver in their boots. Let me tell you something. Some of the interviews I was watching yesterday of him being on what's that guy's name, Dick Cavitt's show, I believe it was, and he was doing an interview at Harvard University against William Buckley, and he was being interviewed with Paul Weiss, some professor from Yale. Listen, let me tell you something. James Baldwin was the truth. Now, could you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, if we went to a church? Because listen, James Baldwin was a preacher at 13. Yeah, I know we like to say Al Sharpton was a young preacher, whatever. James Baldwin, the Harlem Night, yes, get into it, was a preacher. He was a preacher's son, and he too, himself, was a preacher at 13 years old. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This topic is the King James Version. Could you imagine if black people sat in the pews of a church where James Baldwin was the preacher? Just think about it. If you know his works, then you understand the depth of what I'm asking you, right? James Baldwin was a preacher at 13. He was also the son of a preacher man. He was from Harlem. He was an outspoken man who spoke the truth about the state of America and how they treat black people historically. He was an accomplished author. He was a homosexual. He loved his family. So when I tell you, if black people sat in the pews of a church, of a preacher like James Baldwin, we would not be in the state that we're in now. Why do I say that? I say this because, check this out. Yesterday was Easter Sunday. Welcome to Naysay POV, ladies and gentlemen. This morning's topic is the King James Version. Yesterday was Easter Sunday. I grew up in the church. I am certain every church, black church, white church, church, had some version of they hung him high, they spread him wide, his head went to the side, and then he died. That sermon is preached every Easter Sunday, right? Let me tell you, we can almost memorize it by now, especially if you are of a certain age and you've been going to church your whole life. Not only do you know the order of service of any Baptist church, you know on Easter Sunday what the pastor will be preaching. It's nothing new. Come on now, how many times must you learn your ABCs? So we know that sermon. All I'm saying to you all, ladies and gentlemen, is if a preacher of the caliber of James Baldwin, instead of preaching the crucifixion, the resurrection, the 7 last words, that's all in this last couple of weeks. Palm Sunday, Good Friday, it's the same thing. Now, if the preacher said, you know what, this Easter, it's the King James Version, James Baldwin, that is. We're going to do things a little different. We're going to get up here in this pulpit. We're going to teach the truth. The truth about the state of our people and how we have been crucified and how we need to rise up. Right. Because we know the sermon, the story of the crucifixion and the resurrection. We know it. I venture to say our children who are young know it too. But we hear it every Easter. Yes. So, if we are going to become indoctrinated, let us be indoctrinated about our freedom. Yes. I'm sick and tired of these churches preaching the same thing over and over and over again, and we are still in the same state over and over and over again. Now, you have thousands and thousands of churches just in the borough of Brooklyn alone. The borough of churches. And some are quite large. And I'm only talking about the black churches. Some are quite large. Where is the togetherness in these churches? Now, I know there is strength in numbers. But when you got bishop over here, pastor over there, apostle over here, bishop over there, everybody is separate. Everybody wants their collar bigger than the last person's collar. Everybody wants their congregation bigger than the last congregation. Where is the togetherness? How are all of these preachers preaching about the crucifixion and the resurrection, but they're not preaching about the crucifixion and the resurrection of black people as a group? Let's get into this topic. This is the King James Version, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Naysay POV. Okay? Yes, it is my point of view. And I'm vexed right now. I'm vexed because we are looking at a situation in this country that is dire for black people. Dire. If we don't get our stuff together, our people will not only stay, because we're there, okay? Y'all better get into this thing. The Hispanics, the Asians, they have surpassed us. We will stay at the lowest rung on the ladder if we don't come together. We got people killing our children out here in these streets, and we're worried about designer handbags. Yes, we rap about it in our music. We post about it on our social media pages. We're caught up in the wrong things. If we had a pastor, if you went to a church that had a pastor like a James Baldwin, not only would that church thrive, it would be packed. You couldn't even get people in it. It would be so crowded. Yeah. You wonder why some memberships are dwindling. It's repetitive, yet there is no change. There is no growth. Where is the growth from the churches for the community? Yes, and I grew up in the church. I know all of the order of service. I know the songs. Yes. So don't talk about, oh, Nay, you're just saying these things because you don't go to church. Wrong. Been there, done that. Okay? Sang on the choirs, did all of the things. Yes. I want want to go to the church, the house of worship, whatever you want to call it, where the preacher's about that activist life. Yes, where it's not, quote unquote, like some people believe church is a money grab. Yes, you see these pastors, and I'm only talking about the black ones. You see these pastors with planes, jets, mansions, Rolls Royce, Rolex, designer suit, custom made. Now, I like to look good too. I sure do. But what I'm telling you is, when your congregation is hungry and you sitting at the head of the table in a gold-plated chair with diamond cufflinks, something ain't right here. So I need the King James Version. I need a pastor who will not only tell his congregation, listen, this is how we're going to organize. We're going to pool our money, our tithes together. We're going to buy buildings. We're going to house our people in these buildings. Yeah, now, you can't live anywhere for free, so you will have to pay your rent. But one building begets two, and two begets four. And we're going to clean up the community. You see this trash on the ground? We're going to pick it up. Yeah. And it's not going to be a once in a while occurrence. This is our ministry. Yes. And we're going to tell the establishment how we feel via our, social activist work out in the streets. And these little churches, we're going to knock on their door and say, listen, why don't we combine our churches? You're a pastor. Okay, I understand you don't want to give up your pastorship. I'm a pastor. I don't want to give up mine. So why don't we, we coordinate a schedule. You preach this Sunday, I preach the next Sunday. And now these smaller churches merge and they become bigger churches. And you don't need all of these different churches all over the place. Why don't we think of that? But everybody wants to be the chief. Everybody wants their own. Meanwhile, they're not even pooling their resources together to clean up the community where their churches are located. Today's topic, ladies and gentlemen, is the King James Version. My name is Nay. I have something to say. Teach yourself and your babies. Tell these churches, let's join together. Let's band together as one. Stop preaching the same thing over and over again. Preach something about change, about growth, about activism, about becoming better as a society for our people. Peace, and I love you. Have a good morning.